Hello, my name is Travis Lee. I'm the Director of Customer Success here at JobTread, and today we are walking through one of the most important things in my eyes to get you up and running on the system. This is building out your cost catalog. When you first get in here, it's empty, and so we need to decide what we need to do to build this out, but there are a couple different options, and I want to walk through it first. But just to define the catalog, it's all the parts and pieces that go into building a project. So for me, in the interior remodeling space, it would be things like permits, engineering, design, down to the trades, electrical, plumbing, HVAC, cabinetry, cabinet hardware, plumbing fixtures, electrical fixtures, all those parts and pieces that go into building a home. If you're a pool builder, if you're in a different industry, obviously that will look a little bit different. So that's the first thing, is the industry that will determine what this looks like. The second thing is going to be the level of specificity. I work with some individuals that want to do one line. I'm going to build your pool, $90,000, and that's it. Clearly, you'll lose a lot of detail with that, and we really wouldn't recommend that, because you have a cost breakdown that you can enter into the system, and that will allow you to track your cost overruns and underruns, and then understand if you're on track or not, and of course course correct over time as well, which is really the goal. Other people on the flip side get down to a box of screws, and in my opinion, it's not worth that level of detail. I don't think it's worth your time at that point. So maybe for something like that, do a more generic line like miscellaneous materials, and then do a lump sum cost for that. But at the end of the day, it's all up to you, so you can get as specific with this as you want. So how do I build this out? One, I can do the manual option where I'm kind of doing it on the fly as I go. Some people do that, and it's a nice way just to kind of start fresh. If you had a very convoluted process before with a bunch of stuff that you found overwhelming, you can go that route. The other route, the route I'd recommend, is doing an import to get this built out. So you have something in here that's familiar to you and your company, and you can start sending estimates today, right now. So I'll talk about both, but let's start with that manual option. So first off, I can click Add a Cost Item in the top right. These are going to be those individual costs. We have a number of attributes for every cost item, and I do want to explain those real quick, because this is part of building a really great cost catalog. First off is the name of the item. This is what's going to be added into the proposal. So again, permits, let's do city permits, building permits, something along those lines. The description of the item is going to be the scope of work or specification. So you might write many paragraphs for this thing. What you're adding into the catalog, though, should be pretty generic, right? Because this is going to be pull into every job that you build. So don't do anything too specific for one job. Keep it kind of boilerplate here, and then when you pull it into the job, you can customize it further from there. The cost code is going to be the back-end accounting code. This is going to be in your settings if you want to customize these. But for a lot of people moving to our system, they build their estimates with cost codes. If that describes you, the code and the name of the item will just make the same, but you're not required to go build your estimates with cost codes. I could have 50 framing materials as separate items, and they all could be tied to the same code on the back end. So you can get more specific if you want. You don't have to. The cost type right here is labor, materials, other, or sub. You can add on to this list in your settings also. The unit is the unit of measurement. Some people don't use units. They just type in $500 for permits, and that's perfectly fine. But you can say, one each, lump sum cost. I think it looks nice to have, reading down the list, a unit for everything. That's just a personal preference. You may have noticed as soon as I typed in the cost, it spit out a price to the customer. So that's one thing I want to make sure is clear. The cost is your cost as a company, the total receipt for whatever you're buying. The price is what your customer will pay. And we tell you that price based off the goal profit margin that you're trying to hit. This is also customizable in your settings, but I do want to highlight this because every time you change this cost, it's going to change the price, assuming you're still trying to hit those numbers. I can always override this. I can say I want to charge the customer $1,000 for this. And you notice as soon as I updated that price, it changed my markup that was listed as well as my margin. So just understand that these three fields are interconnected. If I change my markup to 100%, you'll notice my margin changes to 50. And if you're not clear about the difference between markup and margin, there are two different ways to calculate profit. Markup is based off your cost. Margin is based on the overall price. We generally lean towards using margin because when you're talking about profit goals as a company, everyone talks in the terms of margin. Very rarely is it markup. So we lean towards displaying margin throughout the system, but either one can be used. That's why we display both here. The taxable status, do you want to forward sales tax along to the customer? SKU and preferred vendor, these are going to be custom fields. So you're not going to see these on your side by default, but you can track additional things about the items themselves. So again, if you're moving from another system and you do have the SKU or internal notes or something like that, we can create a custom field to house that data before we run the actual import. But if everything looks good, you can also upload pictures and videos right here as well. Click create, and then that will create your first item in the system. So now if we go into a job, create the job, go into the budget, now when I add my first item, I can add city permits, write out the full detail here, identify how many, just one in this case, and then we could tweak the numbers from here. So it's just saving you time. If you're going to create things organically within the job, this is a great way to do it. If you're going to go kind of the manual route, just go build your first job. And as you enter things, there's going to be a little toggle here at the bottom that says copy the item to the catalog when created. This is how you can create the job on the fly and then start to build out that catalog over time. If you're going to go this route, I definitely recommend keeping everything generic here. A lot of people I've seen will go and type out very specific scope of works for this particular project, click create, and that's going to send it over to the catalog. So then they're going to have to do some cleanup work in the catalog. So just add the item off the bat and then do the level of detail for this particular job here on the estimating sheet and then send it along as a proposal. But that's the manual route. Definitely want to recommend not going that route and doing an import if we can. So how do we do an import? Right here, you have the import button. You have a full video that kind of walks through how to do this. If you're not comfortable running an import, please just send it to us. support@jobtread.com. We do have a queue typically, so it takes a couple of days to process. So that's why we provide this manual method. If you want to do it, you can. You just have to kind of watch the video and then process on your side. Either way, I'm going to pull up a file real quick and show you what this looks like. Just kind of click and drag. And I'm going to click import all. Again, the video will kind of cover how to do all this, but just want to get an example into the system. Once the import is complete, now I have a large number of items here in the catalog. So you can see here there are no descriptions or costs or prices on this particular import I ran, but for anything that you know the cost of, in my experience, a lot of the stuff was just going to change job to job, so I wouldn't save a price ahead of time. But for some things like hardwood flooring, I might want to go in here and put that because I knew I paid $6.50 a square foot. So this is a flooring cost code. The type is subcontractor. The unit, I'll do it based off square feet, and I paid $6.50. So that's what I would enter here in the catalog. And so when I pull into a job, I'm just going to have to enter how many square feet and shebang, that's it. So yeah, again, you don't have to store rates ahead of time, but you can. That's the point. It will just make building those estimates much quicker. Cost groups right here though, this is something I've avoided talking about so far, but this is really the goal in my eyes, is to build out cost groups or templates. I kind of use those two terms, one and the same for cost groups, but you're building out templates for typical types of projects that you do. So I always provide the same examples here, but let's say you're a roofer and you're doing a roof install. Use the same 12 things every single time. It doesn't make sense to go into the job, into the budget, and add those 12 individual items by searching every time. Create a cost group. So under the cost groups tab, you would create a new group. The template name would be roofing install or something like that. I can enter a description. This is internal. Both this name and this description are totally internal, so no one will see it but you. But then under the black bar is exactly what will be added into the project. So start by adding a group. We'll call it roof install. Create a new group here. This is going to be blank at the moment, and then I can start building this out. So click the three dots. I'm going to add a new cost item and just search and kind of add the items that apply to this particular type of project. In this example with a roof install, I'm going to wind up with one group and a bunch of items under it. In other cases, you might want to build a template for an entire project, like an entire build, a new build, kitchen reno, bathroom. So that's going to have many groups under the one template. So if you create this here, now that this exists, I can go into the job, kitchen renovation, the budget, And instead of doing the individual items, I would do the full grouping called roof install, and here are the parts and pieces that are a part of it. So it's just saving you time, making it much easier to build out the estimates. So going back to the catalog, I want to show you the other example. On the import, I actually created this kitchen remodel at the same time. And this is really the goal, is to come up with something like this, a group that represents a job that potentially has many phases within it. So you can expand everything to see all of the line item detail. And there's a number of settings I want to talk about. So the first is all of these eyes that you see. These are visibility settings. So when you bring these onto a document like a proposal, what do you want to show under that group? If you click this, this will hide design and permits whenever it's on the proposal. We'll only see pre-construction. And you can set this for every group. We do have under settings, document templates. This is where you go customize your documents. For the proposal, for example, this is example data on the right hand side. So if I want to hide all of the items under the groups, I can just turn on this setting, which is fantastic, but it's for the whole document. There's no customization with it. Under the catalog, here in the cost group, if we set it here, we can go group by group and make that decision. Another really popular visibility setting is under extended price. This is where we can hide line item pricing under the group but still show the item itself. So the design would appear, the description would appear, we just wouldn't see the price for it. A really handy tool if you want to help justify the overall cost of the job but not get too detailed with line item pricing. Description and quantity eyes, these aren't used all that often. Generally it's just the items under the group or line item pricing under the group. You can shift things around here with the arrows, so just kind of put it in the order that you prefer. You can click the three dots, and that will allow you to add new items or groups directly under what you're clicking on. A lot of people get confused by kind of this bottom left item and group option. It works the same. It adds an item or a full cost group into this group we're currently working on, but it just adds it to the bottom of the budget. The only difference with this is that it adds it directly under the thing that you're clicking on. You can also edit items specifically from here. So if you just click on the name of the item, right hand side, we're going to see all the details, the ability to upload pictures. Keep in mind, you're not editing that item for just this one job. Whatever changes you make are going to be across all of the groups where this item's currently being included. Just keep that in mind. That's why we have this blue banner explaining that up top. So the items do need to exist before they can be added into groups. Keep that in mind. Let's build out that item list first, and then we can start building out the templates for them. So that's items and groups. This is the cost catalog. So the goal again with all this is to start putting in your parts and pieces for these jobs, get it in the catalog, start building out your templates for the different types of projects that you do. So whenever you have a similar type of project moving forward, you don't have to go line by line and build this thing out. You can say new cost group. We're doing a kitchen remodel. Bring in all the components, all the parts and pieces here, and then it's just a matter of typing in our scope of work, putting in our costs, and making sure our price is right before we send it along in the form of a proposal. So other things, we do have some global templates coming. If they're already in the system, fantastic. If you don't see them right now, they will be soon. You'll be able to access templates that we provide, but certainly on the JobTread Pros Facebook group, reach out to other people, see if they're willing to share their templates as well. But again, we can always import from another source also. So if you'd like to do that, support@jobtread.com. We can accept those files. We can run the import for you, but certainly check out the option to do this on your end immediately as well. Thanks so much for watching. Really appreciate you taking the time to learn more about the catalog. Any questions, feel free to reach out. Thanks so much.